everyone, it's Carolyn here to share another channeled message from the Light Keepers, a group of angelic beings I channel for your awakening and ascension journey support. So today we are going to have a channel about the month of May and an energy update. But what we're going to do first is I'm going to take you back to middle of April with respect to what happened. I thought it was maybe just me, but it's quite a story. And for me, it was the night of April 14th. I thought it was just my situation. I quickly found out that I had 6 other people that I learned of that had the same situation. So we're going to start from there. I'm going to tell you that story, hopefully as succinctly as I can. Moving forward to now, talking about May energy update, because basically what happened in middle of April led us to May. And now we're going to also talk about what that means moving forward to the middle of the year, which, as you recall, if you've watched my videos, starting, I want to say, even last fall, they were talking about the middle of the year of 2021, and they just kind of stopped there. They didn't go any further. So we continue along that vein of talking about the middle of the year. But then what we also do is the theme of the mountains that we're climbing continues. And so that if you haven't seen my energy updates, I don't think you necessarily have to go back because we summarize, but those of you who have been watching, you'll understand the theme of the mountaintop climbing to the summit and then moving on to the next mountaintop. So we're going to continue from there. Some special things about May as well we're going to discuss. So sit back and enjoy. I'm going to read the channel. It's about 2 pages. And then I'm going to give you, well, actually, I think what I'll do first is I'm going to go ahead and give you the April situation. I'll read the channel, and then I'm going to talk more about some of the things that came out of the channel and what we are to expect in our individual journeys and our collective journey as well. So I'm Carolyn. I'm a channel, I'm a distance energy healer, and I'm a spiritual awakening mentor. And I offer these videos for your awakening and ascension journey support. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new to my YouTube channel, I would love if you like, share, and subscribe. In addition, if you look in the description box below this video, you're going to see a link that will take you to a video that I offer for free. It actually shows how to create flow in your body for health and wellness, because it's so important during our awakening and ascension journey. But more importantly, it leads you to a weekly email list that I have where I offer you a Light Keeper channel every week to support you on your journey forward. So join me there too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with the middle of April. And we're going to talk about that, move forward into present day, May, and then the rest of the next couple months. So first of all, many of you might recall in my past energy updates, I saw something happening in April. I saw us having something occur to us collectively. I did not know if it was going to be an event or events in our material world, but I also saw it as energetics. Well, and we know that with energetics and all that shift and change comes like the manifestation part of that. It also shakes and rattles the material world part, sometimes in a delayed fashion. However, the point in this is that occurred middle of April. It occurred the night of the 15th for me, where I guess I just will tell you my story. Essentially at about 1:45 that night, I woke up and I just felt strange. But the couple hours before, I had been awake and I was obsessing in my head about a couple of things that were just super ridiculous. But I remember thinking, why is this feel so tight in my head? And my neck, I felt so knotted up. Everything was just, it was much more extreme than it would have been, because I'm not very much an anxious person, but when I get my head whipped around something, I will stay on it. But not like this. I mean, it literally felt like I was in lockdown mode with my head and my neck. And I remember saying to myself, how did you handle all those dozens of years in the business world, in management and high-level positions? How did you handle it if you can't handle this simple little thing? Well, what happened was I was being offered at that time massive amounts of energy through my crown. But guess what? And we all took it in differently. Some of us probably didn't even notice it, but I'll bet you there are going to be a bunch of you that are going to comment and say, oh my gosh, yes, I had something happen that week or whatever. Remember, this is the middle of April. Anyway, what happened to me then was those energies were offered to me through my crown, and they're going to try to get through any way they can because they're for a greater good. But when we have our own blocks in us, and mine are usually typically physical, that are caused by something emotional. I had blocked my neck, and I had blocked probably my well, I don't know, it was in my head too and my neck, but mostly my neck. I had just had this tightness in there. The energy was like saying, we're coming in, we're coming in. And when that happened, it all coalesced, came in, and was trying to make its way through. But what happened to me is it basically, this is going to sound crazy, took me out of my body and created a replication of myself that like overlaid on me. I felt like I had two of me. Like I had come out of my body, but I still had my body, but I had another me on top of that. I know that sounds trippy, but this is the best way to explain what was happening to me. I got up, started to walk, and I was wobbly, and everything around me was wobbly. It wasn't like being dizzy though. It was like I was out of my body. I was seeing like some other reality in a way, but it was still my bedroom. And I remember feeling like I was going to hyperventilate. I couldn't get a good deep breath. I felt alternately cold. Well, not alternately. I was cold. I had chills. My hands and my feet were cold. I couldn't really feel them. So, and my breathing was not good. Now, I don't get freaked out by much of anything physical. And what happened to me at that point was my first thought was, I'm having a heart attack or I'm having a stroke. And then I heard my team say, now remember, when you hear your team, but you're in kind of freak out human mode, your human's doing this thing, the ego over here, and your team is trying to get to you, but you can't quite hear them as well, right? And I heard, you're having a panic attack. And I remember going back and forth thinking, yeah, this is what this is. I'm having some kind of weird anxiety attack thing. Long story short, I suddenly realized, oh, yeah, that's right. I live alone. But what if I'm not? What if I'm having a heart attack? Blah, blah, blah. I end up going to the emergency room. Driving, not a good idea because it was such an out-of-body experience driving to the emergency room at 2 o'clock at night, or in the morning, I should say. I can't even begin to, I've never felt this before, ever. It was the most, like, I want to say interdimensional, awful experience because what had happened is all this energy, I later figured this out, right? All this energy had tried to come into me for my benefit and run through my chakras. No, I'm up here all in my head before I went to bed, right? All knotted up. I had a really like tight, super tight neck because I was overthinking all these things. And those energies got brought in. And they're saying, no, we're coming. We're going to come. We're coming in. We're coming in. Well, that's what happened to me, ultimately. It affected every single, what they told me later on. Long story short, I go to the emergency room. I get all the tests. Oh, I can only imagine what this bill's going to be like. I had what was it called? What do they do it for your heart? Oh my gosh, I don't even know what that's called. Check your heart. I had a CT scan. All my vitals. I'm fine. They're like, no, you're fine. You're fine. And then they proceed to have to explain to me that they said, you meditate, right? This is kind of a funny part. You meditate, right? And I said, well, they haven't been working really well lately. And they said, okay, so now this is Western medicine, remember. We highly recommend that you meditate, blah, 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 and we suggest yoga. And they didn't give me medication, which I didn't want, but I was like, oh my God, I have to come here to be told to do the things that I teach everybody else about, right? Because sometimes we slip up on our own stuff, right? So I'm like, oh my God, this is Western medicine telling me to do yoga and meditation and not giving me a prescription. So anyway, I think that's kind of funny, but it's pretty cool too, that happened. Anyway, so I go home and I felt really strange the next day. Well, needless to say, as I went home from the emergency room, I was fine. Like I had come out of that hour and a half of whatever that was at that time. Turns out, long story short, I then realized over the next day or two when I'm feeling tired and kind of, it wasn't so much an anxiety attack. It caused an anxiety attack because the energy that came through couldn't get through in the right way. So it found any way it could, and it literally, like they said to me, it's like I blew a circuit. like your electrical box in your house, like, and what happened then is that energy came through. Okay, they just said created an overlay to me so it could get through. Wow, that's fascinating, but it was still connected to me. I hope this helps some of you, because we're actually getting into more of energy update, but I need to tell you this. So then what happened from there is they told me that every single cell in my body had been impacted with the energy, but because it was so difficult to get to me, I ended up like kind of doing a short circuit kind of thing in my body, and it felt like it, right? So for the next couple of days I was exhausted. I just didn't feel normal, but I felt different. Something had shifted and changed, and that began the shift and change, the massive shift and change I've had over the last 2 weeks, running up to today, which is May 3rd. Okay. My whole life has pretty much changed in the last 2 weeks. And I'm not saying that maybe yours has, but I've, like, literally, if you looked around and said, well, what's changed? Oh no, this is all about inside of me, the things I'm processing, the energy I'm putting out, the relationships I have, and the significant shift and change, past life stuff that's coming up for clearing now, that is like, no, we're done with this, we're going to process this, that's done, you got to move forward. And then these pieces from those past lives that I'm here to redo have played out. So what happened, and I think many of you will be able to say, oh, I did have something happen. Oh, I really had something happen. Well, what that did was that energy came in. It's setting up, okay, now that they're telling me something new, it's setting us up for June. This was the big event that I saw in our channels from the past months. This is a big event. It was an energetic event. I don't know how each of you took it in. I'd really be interested in the comment section if you want to indicate if you noticed something. I have 6 people within 4 days that I either know or I work with that had similar events, but it was all very different. I actually had one good friend say to me that night, literally that night, she had the most amazing experience. Her Kundalini, it was basically a Kundalini experience, totally opened up. And she said, and her chakras are fully open. And she says, I've never been in such bliss. And I said, well, I wasn't. It was the same energy though. Okay, so we were being offered that. What I'm getting now is that was being offered so that we could continue to okay, they're talking about flow through the old. Flow through the old, process the old. A lot of you are processing past lives now that you may not even know. Depends on where you're at in your journey, if you're that aware and you know some of your past lives. But we're processing a lot of stuff to get us through. Okay, so what they're trying to tell me now, okay, so we're kind of doing a part of the end of the video first. Maybe we'll just keep talking like this and I'll do the channel. So what they're saying is this is preparing us for the middle of the year. Like they keep showing June to me, okay? Okay, they're talking about massive upgrades, massive energetic shifts. They're talking about aligning us with what is to come, okay? Gosh, I didn't really want to go into talking about the future yet, but they kind of want me to. Okay, I'm going to stop, and I'm kind of going to go back and finish this part, and then we'll catch up with them. So what I had was all these people who said, oh, here's what I had happen. Oh, is that what you had happen? Oh my gosh, I felt this, and it was so crazy that I knew I was processing something, but I didn't know. Well, one client, I actually helped identify what it was. It was her inner child wanting to come out because of childhood trauma that she hadn't processed, that we've talked about, but now she's got to process it because she hadn't really done anything with it, right? And this little girl's wanting out, which I visualized and saw, and so now she's working on these past lives that are helping her shift and change and expel all of that, process that, so that she can continue to rise in frequency and vibration, because that's what it's about. It's about processing our stuff, right? So needless to say, as you know, one of my expertise is past lives and the ones that are impacting us in this incarnation today. So it's not just, oh, it's fun to know the past life. There's purpose in it, right? So we're clearing a lot of our past lives, even if we don't even know it. You don't need to worry about not knowing. It just helps because then you understand what's going on with you and maybe some of the work that will help you follow up. So needless to say, I had 6 people talk about this. They all had wide-ranging experiences, from the most beautiful experience you can imagine to me in the emergency room. So that led me then to, and it also led these other people that I'm talking about, because I work with them, or they're my friends, and they're awakening, and I have followed their journeys since the last couple of weeks, and so much has unlocked. Like literally set up series of events to clear a lot of this. And a lot of it is inner work. I mean, we know that, right? It's inner work. It's traumatic work lots of times. It's emotional work. There's been a lot of that happening from middle of April till now. And I'm not saying it's ending, but I am getting that May is going to be much, they just said smoother, to allow you to integrate. They're talking about the enjoyment, of your work. Okay, so, the fruits of your labor, they just said. Okay, so that's interesting. I think they do touch on this. So in the channel, what they talk about then is they don't really talk about the April part, but I needed to set this up because this energy that was offered to all of us, however you felt it, and even if you didn't, how it played out in your journey, was offered to us to step up. Okay, now I get what they're saying in here even more. To step up into what's happening in May, which is this channel here, and they use the mountain analogy and the butterflies again, okay? So that's integrating within ourselves over the last couple weeks, rocketing us off into even more, okay, they just said of the inner journey. Because remember, this is all about us. It's the inside out job, and then we create the earth from that, because we will manifest out of the beauty and grace that we have built within ourselves, and that has replaced all the stuff we've carried. Now, that doesn't mean we stop processing all other things, because more will probably come up. But needless to say, we're in a better place. We're in a better place. Because I honestly think we're preparing for a lot of energy. What is to come? I keep seeing the mid-year. They don't show me a lot of the last 6 months. Because I think it is, I'm going to just say a wide-ranging experience. But as we've talked about, it will swirl around us, but I do think it's a significant situation that occurs in June. And I'm getting around the solstice. Yep, okay. So whatever that is. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I have a feeling some more might come through at the end here after I read the channel. So we have they just said reprieve. It feels like we have a reprieve in May. Don't know how that'll play out for us individually, but we did a lot of hard work in April, guys. I'm not kidding you. And it's not just me. I will guarantee you that I'll have a bunch of comments about your journeys and experiences. Please do share, because it's so important that we're able to see other journeys and how this plays out. And it helps me too, because it's just me sitting here doing these videos for you with information I bring through, and maybe the 6 people that I'm close to, right? So it's always fun to hear from you and then to respond back. All right, so we know that what we've had happen was a big energetic event that came through in mid-April. Oh, I meant to tell you this too. And I'm not much into astrology. I love it, but I don't understand it fully. I had understood that Wednesday night, I think it was the 14th, whatever Wednesday was a grand trine. So somebody said to me, oh yeah, that would have assisted that. I'm like, oh, okay. Needless to say, I just heard on the backs of the grand trine. Is that right? But they just said on the backs of. Okay, so like maybe it came in with that. So now we're moving into May, and they're going to talk a little bit about that, but they're going to talk about our journey forward and what that means. So I think now's the time probably to read the channel, and then I'm going to comment more on some of the things that they wanted to bring through in the beginning. All right, remember, it's a little longer. They're going to speak in the way they normally speak, and which is a little poetic, but it's not confusing. At least I don't think it is. They're using metaphors, mountain, butterfly, all that. All right, here we go. Times have come to fly away over the mountains and far away into the chasm, looking over those who are still wandering in time. You, the first to fly across and begin the wave. Those that will follow along will follow in your footsteps. Brighter times are coming, but it is all about how you feel in your way of you. For flourish you will, if you wish to become. For it is about the inner you, the I am presence, for you know it too. You can create more than you know. Fly across the pathways and sow the seeds of harmony in your way, and love in higher vibration and manifestation today. For this is the time when all will see the division is greater, but you feel and look and see that you have moved into a higher space, a consciousness growing all of the time. For fear is no longer something you do to yourself. For yes, it is only what you let it be to you. Releasing what no longer serves you today, you see the higher pathway and reach for it in your day. For those who will come along for the ride, either now or at some point in time, will find their way across the chasm you are flying over now, we say too. For each to their own are headed to the next mountain in time. For the June of your times comes, we say, quickly, and yes, you will see how the vibration shifts and changes in the collective. For you are coming into the middle of your year, where division will be greater. But those of you who have brought into yourself the higher vibration and the learning of yourself today, understanding what you create, the manifestation energies are riper for you. You are doing your work, and you will continually understand that it is all in your mind and deep in your heart, where you can create anything outside of you. That is what you are here to do, the first wave of you, the great expanse of you, to lead the way and to understand there is a pathway others can follow. As you create out of your heart's desire, they will wonder how you have missed the chaos in time. For yes, you see it swirl around you too. We have said this before, and now you understand it too. For you see further afield, and yet you look at it, still are involved, but it is your energetics that allow you to not swirl in it, we say too. Oh yes, you could if you wish, but now we have a greater time of the mystical in mind. For you will see May come, and you will reap what you sow. For this is the beginning of your own heaven, and so. The work you have done is recognized. Understand that you will let go of this fear and the things that have held you down in time. Many of you are flying now. The bumps on the stream of the wind of consciousness in your day you will find too. It is true. Flying over to the next mountain, but not dropping to the ground. However, fluttering in the faces of the others in your way. The beauty and light that you show as they will see you, the butterfly. No more wet wings in time, and yet you swoop down, and yes, you do share your beauty and put a smile on their faces as they trudge along their way, flit and flying, and you help them find their way through the darker times. For every single one of them will be looking to find their pathway out of the darker days that are deep inside of them. For as we have mentioned, an inside job it is, but you are learning to begin to recognize your feelings and understand your past and where they have come from too. For eons have come and gone, and you have brought all of it in your DNA. Shedding the layers out of the cocoon, you have come just in time to share with your brethren. For you will fly in their face with beauty and light in your day. For if they follow you, the butterfly, they will soon unwind their own pathway, but you will always be the leader of the others energetically in the human journey. But understand in time, all will follow in your way. As you look over your shoulder, you will see the pathway, for they will broaden out of what you have started now. And then they will climb up to the top of the mountain, and they will understand how to launch off in their day. The first mountain peak, the path you forged just yesterday. Following you and flying, more and more of them coming. It will grow faster as this year progresses, for there will be events coming your way in the middle of the year. Oh yes, it is true. We have said this before, for the cataclysm will come, we say too, launching more further into awakening. So many constructs broken down today. Belief systems now are gone. Things you never thought could be broken down that you trusted of the material gain. The constructs and belief systems and the institutions that were stable one time. The things you see of materialism are no longer coming in your way, and they will break down into dust, and you will watch them in time. And rebuild you will. For you are the journeyers on this pathway, and as you travel this pathway, you will see things that you wish to do. Grab onto them and hold onto them and create, for you will continue to march forward with the things you wish to do in your day. And this is how the new earth will be built. It will continue to break down, but build up too, for it is an approach, but some of what you may believe is the apocalypse. But it is not at all what you have thought or been told in the past, in the day that only invokes fear in you too, for this is not how it works. It is a balance always, for as it breaks down, it is built up. You will see it, and you will understand it, and you will begin to join in with what you choose to build from deep inside of you, and then it manifests outside of you. For this is what it is about, those who are coming along for the day, flying off of the cliff where you are now reaching the next peak in your day, as you lighten on the pathway to reach up again to the summit in time. You look back and you see the sky so true, full of those who are getting their wings. You reach out your arms to beckon them. They flitter and fly, and some feel as they're going to crash in their day. But you continue your strength of your light, offering to others the kindness and love of the higher of you, being patient and caring, growing in your own life too. For come they do now to you. You assist them further as they join you on the next mountain peak in your day. And now you see that as you enter the Mayan time, where you will create even further the things you wish for in your day, you feel a lighter grace. So yes, it is true, a simpler time, preparing for the nexus of June. And now that peak looks wondrous to you as you climb up, for you start to understand how this is a pattern. Gaining light and then frequency is brought often into you. Set out your manifestation and then focus on the thing in front of you. This is the way it works. And yes, it may sound simple, but you understand frequency by now. Open yourself up to the inner work too, and as you put out what you wish for, then you center back on the moment, your own pathway, the next step up to the peak. And then you will fly again to the higher of you, reaching for the stars in time, for yes, you will leave the chaos behind and gather steam for the rest to be let out of their own prison they made one day. We leave you in light and love this day, now and forevermore. Okay, so I have a lot of chills having read this, and I have a lot of chills now. It's funny because I hadn't really read it for reading it. I read it more for editing so that I could read it after transcribing. Wow, that's really powerful. So having told you what we experienced, either consciously or not, from middle of April with the energetic event moving now into May, what I want to do is see if they'll offer us some detail on May, and then we're going to talk about June, because they really stop at June. Doesn't mean the world ends in June, but what I will tell you is it's a metaphor for like part of the world ending in June. Okay, so remember, this is vibrational, part of the world ending in June. This is not a literal, like the world's blowing up, we're all going away, there's no more Earth, that whole thing, right? But what we're going to see is this continued cell division. Remember how they use the cell and this division that's happening, this pulling apart. You know how cells divide? And we've talked about this a number of times before. Dividing, and there's a little piece in between, right? Like that bridge, right? Wow, this is interesting what they're showing with the cell dividing now. New Earth, old Earth. And remember, it's not literal new Earth is showing up in the sky and we're going to go jump off. They're using this as a metaphor because, like they said here, we're building the new Earth. We've said this before, and all the work that we do, we keep going to the next mountaintop. We keep going to the next mountaintop. Higher frequency, higher vibration with the work we do. We learn to fly. We're flying more smoothly. We know how to fly. We know how to use our wings, right? We didn't last time. But we've learned that in the month of April. We've started to be able to really fly. And with the work that we've done leading up to May, okay, I got to get back to the cells. They're just giving me a lot of information. So, well, let's finish the cells first. So what they're showing then is new Earth, old Earth metaphor. And they're showing a lot of souls running across the bridge from old Earth to new Earth. So this bridge is getting thinner and thinner. Like kind of time, almost like, I don't know if there's a time running out kind of thing, but this is the metaphor they're using of old Earth running, people running, going, oh, I gotta do my work. You know, oh my gosh. Okay, so, and a lot of that's not conscious awareness. For us awakening, it's very conscious. So running over to the new Earth, like starting that soul kicking in, being able to beat through the human ego to wake people up, which is why I think we're going to see so many more people awaken, which we have already, right? But point in this is, what I'm getting with May, they're showing flowers. Well, in May, for a lot of us in the Northern Hemisphere, that's spring. They're showing Okay, they just said new growth. Oh, it's this. Oh, God, this makes so much sense. They said it's the seeds you planted that are sprouting today, and now you get to enjoy the perfume of May. Okay, so it feels like May. Oh, they just said you reap what you sow. They just said that in there too. Okay, you reap what you sow. Going to be able to smell the beauty of the flowers in your journey forward, but at the same time, you're moving to the next mountaintop. Okay. Oh, this is what they're showing. Okay, so this makes sense. So remember, we're always moving to the next mountaintop. Again, more learning, more shedding clothes. I don't know how many clothes we can shed, but we keep shedding clothes. And oh, what they just showed is you actually put clothes back on, some clothes back on as you travel to the next mountain, because guess what? That's new stuff that you're going to work through, right? Because we just keep doing that. But at the same time, because you've shed those other clothes, the stuff, right? Either past life stuff or things you're working on, all the, the human, the ego stuff. Because you've shed some of that, it's lighter and you're moving higher frequency all the time, even though you're still continuing to do work. Does that make sense? So you'll continue. They're showing the visual. You kind of put your clothes back on. You're getting ready for your next mountain. But you're always raising in frequency and you're moving forward into the summit. And so, but what they're showing for May, this is fascinating, is a field of flowers that we're getting to walk through. Oh my gosh, they're showing The Wizard of Oz. Okay, that's weird because The Wizard of Oz came on last night on TV, and I don't ever have the TV on, and I thought, I think I'm supposed to watch this, but I honestly didn't have time. But they're showing the field of flowers that Dorothy fell asleep in. And they're showing a meadow like this. Wow, this is fascinating. Ooh, I have a lot of energy. Okay, these flowers, well, they just said, are the bed you have made for yourself, because we've done the work. We're now getting somehow in May to have almost they just said a respite. Oh, that's right, because I think she fell asleep in the flowers, right? If you remember the Wizard of Oz. I think we're getting a respite, or we're getting to. They just said reap what you sow. We're going to get to see the benefits of. They just said the gifts of what you have. Because this is all work we've done ourselves, right? So to one degree or another, we're going to see that. Feels like May. And remember, this is all relative. May be a smoother month. It also kind of feels like it might be a smoother month energetically. I don't know if that plays out that way, but it feels like it might. We may not have as much difficult work to do. We may see more of it feels like more of what we've sown, we are going to see flower. That's key, okay? I've actually seen that happen already, just in the last week. Significant. Like it showed up in the material world. I'm not talking, well, you can argue it's a manifestation, but mine's more relationship oriented, and the work that's being done to work through past lives. So we all have our own thing we're working on, even if we don't understand it. And we may start seeing the actual repercussions, and honestly, positive repercussions in May. So it feels like we're sleeping in the flowers. Think of May as sleeping in the flowers, reaping what we sow, smelling the perfume. Oh, and then okay, so then they just showed the yellow brick road. And they showed Dorothy tripping on a brick in the yellow brick road. Because what they're trying to say is, well, you still have stuff you're going to encounter. So she trips on the yellow brick road. But a lot of that time is spent in May smelling the flowers and just kind of pondering your existence in the moment. But here's the thing. Don't get complacent. Because June is different. I don't know if we're going to get much here as to what that means. But I want to try to get more than what they gave in the channel. There's an event that's going to occur. Now, here's the thing to remember. When I see events, first of all, I see energy. But I also see a calendar when I talk about this. The event these events will be tied typically to energetic events. It feels like June is going to be full of energetic events, all right? But it's then leading up. It feels like the solstice. Wow. Powerful June energetics. It feels like May is a respite period. Like it's all, okay. You know what they're showing? They said pack your gear. Pack your gear. We're going to keep using the mountain, I can tell, and the butterflies, because you're the butterfly flying over, right? But the point is they also use the human analogy of getting to the next mountain, or you're flying over the mountain. But they're like, pack your gear, because we're going to the next mountain. You're getting ready to do this in June. So it's almost like you took a break. You're coming back to wash all your clothes, and you're going to go on your next big mountain hike, all right? because June feels super, super significant. Now, what I'm going to tell you is, first of all, the energetics feel like they're going to be significant. By the way, I look off to here. Many of you probably already know this, when I channel. So it's not like I'm trying to ignore you. I'm just looking off to here because that's how I get information. So what will be happening is we will have energetic events that will align for us to continue to open us up, okay, to higher vibration and frequency, the running of our kundalini, the opening of our chakras, because it's super important. Because what we're going to do is we're transcending all of that stuff that's happening in the, I'm just going to say the old world, right? We're transcending that. And with that, we're helping them come, the rest of them come that way, all right? Forging the field, they just said. Forging the pathway, they just said. So as we're journeying in June, we're going to encounter a lot of energetic events. I'm seeing lightning, and I'm seeing thunder, and I'm seeing rainstorms. Oh, they just said cloudy days. Okay. What that means, as I was trying to say earlier, is we have the energetic events. Cloudy days could mean, oh God, I feel like so much energy. I'm fatigued for a week and I can't do anything. But it's also manifestation in the outer world. It will show in the outer world with the, as we said, the constructs we've created, the belief systems we've created, the institutions we've created that we see in the outside world that we have so depended on to just survive, right? Well, is that really what our survival is it depending on? Those are going to start getting broken down. I want you to be aware of that. Now, I'm not saying they're all coming crashing down at once, but remember, we've seen the crumbling. These old institutions with the old energy, things that need to, I could list out a dozen, but you already know a lot of what they are, that have constrained us to not be able to grow on our own. So we have that within ourselves that we're going to deal with. We will be dealing with that inside ourselves, breaking down those belief systems and those constructs, and yet at the same time, we're going to look outside and go, oh, look at that. I have no idea. But the point is there are institutions, there are belief systems, there are constructs we've created, we've manifested out there that we depend on that are going to start crumbling. I think June is a big deal for this. I really, really do. Because they show the calendar in my mind and they just kind of stop in June. Now, that doesn't mean the world stops. Nothing, we are continuing on. We always are rebuilding while we're breaking down. So the whole idea of this, and I've said this before, but I'll go out on this limb again, of the apocalypse and everything breaking down and there's nothing to depend on, that's not going to happen. But because here we are with this, we're moving out of that vibration. We're not in that vibration. We're not in that frequency. We're not there anymore. We're not in that dimension. Many of us do 5D, 3D all the time, day to day, and we're up here, okay? So again, as you do your self-care, as you do your work, and you don't turn a blind eye to everything that's coming your way, and you spend the time to do the work, right? Because we have resources available to us, but to be able to do the work, and a lot of you know how to do this on your own, self-care is the foundation of that. Meditation, get going on your meditations, okay? Because May feels like the time for you to really ramp up your vibration. Not many of you now are able to get back outdoors. Get out in nature. Start hiking. Enjoy the sun. Do some sun gazing. I'm just going to keep going. Start building. If you haven't built your practices, get going on them, okay? Meditation, salt baths, self-care. Oh, they just said nature and nurture. Oh, that's cute. Lots of water, proper diet, exercise, and beautiful nature walks. That's all you really need. But it's self-care is the foundation of all of this, because then that allows the energies to move through you. Like, here's a great example. I had terrible meditations over the last, it's not been good. I used to meditate like a wild banshee, and I just can't seem to do it. Now I have found frequency meditations, hertz and frequency meditations. Oh, how I never figured those before. That has shifted and changed me for the good, and I'll try to mention those, the one I use here. Many of you may know about it. Love Motives on YouTube, FYI. So the point in this is my meditations were terrible. But what happened to me is, I know that this came my way, is these frequency meditations have shifted everything for me in how I meditate now. I am back meditating unbelievably. And so I know that's getting me back to where I need to be. We all have something we're not doing that great, and that's okay. Give yourself grace. But you know what? Let's get back to it. Let's build it out. Let's do the thing, because we're going to be rolling into midsummer, and you're going to need it for yourself. And you're going to, well, and what I was going to say too is, because with my meditations that weren't great, guess what happened during that energetic event in April for me? I was all yanked up here in my neck and my head, and so tight with anxiety and overthinking in the 3D. I was so narrow-minded, and just, it was awful. I was so wrapped up in my ego way of thinking that night that look what happened to me. I mean, so we have the opportunity to clean up our act in the sense of our self-care, and it's super important during this time. Okay, and I could, list a gazillion things that you can do, but I think you get the point. So we're moving into June, and then what we're going to find, I think, is so they gave the analogy of the mountain. We're coming up to, it feels like they're showing a snowstorm. They showed a rainstorm in the meadow. They're starting to show lightning, thunder. I don't know what this means literally, but it always plays out individually, okay? Typically, in the sense of stuff you might be clearing and still working on. But I am getting this to be much more in the outer world. So what we want to do is keep doing our work, keep our focus. Don't get stuck in that stuff, okay? I'm going to tell you again, don't get stuck in that stuff, because I have a feeling in June we're going to get drawn to want to more. And the frenzy around us. Wow, I do not know what this means, but the frenzy around us, it does feel like a construct or a manifestation we've created, some form of an institution, may come. Okay, they're showing Humpty Dumpty. Yeah, this makes sense. Humpty Dumpty. I don't remember the nursery rhyme. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. Humpty Dumpty. I don't remember. But putting Humpty back together again is key, because what's happening is these institutions that no longer serve us in this higher frequency and higher vibration and higher dimension we're going to, and that many of us are working at it now, they have to come down, but they're being rebuilt, okay? They're being rebuilt. So June, yep, this is take care of ourselves time, prep time, get ready time. Just do your work. Don't freak out. Everything shows up as it's meant to, and we just keep doing our journey the way we need to keep doing our journey. I'm going to just see if we can get anything after June here. See if we can get any words. Okay, they just said roller coaster. Okay, of emotion. So they're back to the roller coaster. You guys might remember they used the roller coaster analogy for about 3 months at least, back in last summer from last summer through the end of last year. And then they took us to the mountains with the butterflies. Remember, we're the butterflies. We're still flying. Just always remember that. We're still flying. And go back to this channel if you want to understand what we're doing. But we will see all around us. And I don't know how that plays out, but it does feel like these large constructs. And these, remember, we've manifested all this. And we're just now we're to shift and change it. We're creating all this. We are creating the new earth as we speak. By our vibration, by our frequency, by the things we choose to keep in our lives and not keep in our lives. And then we offer that frequency to others around us with grace and love and great kindness. So I hope you have enjoyed this today. This turned out a little different than I thought, but it's exactly what I had hoped for. Anyway, so with that today, I'll just remind you of my services, purplerainhealing.com. I have many channeled services. I also have distance energy healing, and I do a soul journey session with Celeste where we do 50 minutes of a recorded session for you where we talk about your soul journey. And I'm talking past lives, early incarnations, even when you were not a human, because we've not just been humans, and moving forward to present day to assist you in your current journey forward. It really helps you understand who you are at a soul level and the experiences you've had, and also how it applies to some of the things going on in your journey now. I personally offer all channeled services as well, either getting a document of multiple pages, 8 pages or more, and also sessions for mentoring you through your ascension and spiritual awakening. Those are multiple sessions where we work regularly. And frankly, that has just been a joy for me, meeting so many of you. And I do a lot of mentoring sessions. So check it out. I'd love to work with you. And so with that, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. You're so special in my journey. I love to read your comments, and I thank you so much for supporting me. I will see you in the next video.